Hey guys, coming in is my for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, Episode 4, Devils You Know, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode, mainly because the past three have been really great, and, luckily, this will be a longer review than last week, because that recap that I said was gone last week, it is back this week, so that's good, because I like using the recap off this site. It's in-depth, I like it. Unfortunately, guys, I can't give you the most thorough review of this episode, though, because so much of it was cut off by ABC. I guess in New York, there was like a cop that was shot or something, and for whatever reason, Eyewitness News felt they had to report this, and yes, I get that this is major, and mini right here, guys, I know that this is like major news or whatever, but like, did you really have to delay a program to tell me that a cop was shot in New York City? Like, it doesn't affect me, it affects people on the commute out at night, and it only affects people in that area. I don't live in New York, I live in New Jersey, I'm not going to that area anytime soon, so I'd kindly ask that you not do that, and yeah, it was kind of annoying that they did that. Other than that, guys, I thought this was, from what I saw at least, I thought this was the best episode of the season. Really great stuff having this episode. Some really interesting stuff going into next week, and I can't wait for next week's episode. Let's get into this one, because there was some really great stuff here. We see a couple bake a chicken in their North Hollywood apartment, and as one of them is flying around the kitchen, there's a knock at the door, and it's Alisha, which is the multiplying inhuman from Afterlife, and she hugs them both and tells them that the Terrigen got out. We get a lot of Afterlife in this episode, and they talk about seeing Lincoln and the ACTU on the news, and Alisha tells them that the world sees them as a threat, and that they need to stick together, at least those of them who were around before the outbreak, and you can tell that she's trying to round up the Inhumans and help them out, and they asked if she was the one who sent out the email saying they should bring their people back together, and she doesn't know what they're talking about, but Lash then bursts in the room. They each try to use their powers to fight him, and Lash knocks the couple over easily. Alisha doesn't last much longer. Alisha screams on board a S.H.I.E.L.D. transport with Coulson, and, that was insane seeing Lash again. And I know people don't like the design for Lash, but I think he's pretty badass, I have to say, and I really like his character. So that definitely is very interesting. So Alisha screams on board on S.H.I.E.L.D. transport with Coulson. She tells Coulson her dupe is down, and Coulson sends Mac and Daisy in, but they only find bodies. So clearly there's something more going on here. And Alisha tells them and tells Coulson that Lash is here to kill them, and there's nothing that they can do about it. So they don't, Lash is just a very powerful force who seems to have this one agenda to get rid of Inhumans, and we don't fully understand what's going on with Lash. We start to find out some more details about it in this episode, but at this point, at least, it seems like he's killing these Inhumans, because he has some sort of agenda, and we just don't know what that is yet. So Bobby tells people in the apartment building that they're searching for the suspects, and Coulson and the team try to gather what information they can before the office authorities arrive. And Coulson mentions the email, and Fitz grabs a laptop, and basically Daisy and Mac have tracked Lash to a nearby industrial park. Mac wonders how Daisy talked him out of the garage and into the field, and Daisy wonders why Lash is killing other Inhumans, because, he is an Inhuman. Why is he doing this? And Mac attributes it to instinct, that, he just has this instinct that something's wrong with them, and I think that's interesting that we're seeing that. I like that Daisy asked that question, because that's what's going through all our heads. Why the hell is Lash doing this to them? Obviously, we don't know what Lash is, if he just has a personal vendetta against them, or if there's just more to it. Maybe he's working for some sort of organization that's against them. I really don't know, but I think that's very interesting that we saw that. So Bobby finds a biological sample that may be from Lash, and Fitz tells her to put it in the blue bag based on a system he and Jemma came up with, and Bobby asks Fitz if Jemma's open up to him, and he says no, and Bobby says the same. But of course, that's not true, because she knows that Jemma wants to go back to the monolith. She knows that, and she does not tell Fitz that, probably just because she wants Fitz to not be concerned about Jemma, because she knows the lengths he's going to go to, and she knows he'll try to convince her out of it, and plus, Jemma clearly has some sort of reason for going back to the monolith, and Bobby probably doesn't want to chance that, so I can totally understand why she's not telling Fitz right now. So Daisy and Mac follow the sound of something trying to get in or out of a double doorway, and they swing the doors open and find Rosalind and the ATCU. Coulson follows the ATCU, and Daisy and Mac are angry because, they don't fully trust Rosalind. Plus, again, Coulson never addressed this with them till after. But Coulson says that they're on the same side, and Coulson says it means to an end, and Daisy asks if it's S.H.I.E.L.D's end or the ATCU's, and it's neither, because obviously these two are combining, they're combining forces, and this could either go really good or really bad, and I don't know how this is gonna go, but, it seems like it's going well in this episode, but again, that doesn't really say anything. The ATCU bag up a crime scene, and Coulson asks where they're taking the victim, but Rosalind says that it's classified and that he shouldn't know, and Rosalind accuses him of withholding information and notes that this doesn't seem like the usual call on a recent Terrigenesis, and she figures out that these people were actually inhumans before the outbreak, and that he found them using Daisy's contacts, and she says the ATCU will take it from here. So clearly, there's something more going on with Lash. He found them, and he knows more about them, and Lash is definitely very smart with that. So Ward, basically, then we see Grant and Kebo. They open up a crate of weapons brought to them by Lance, and he, of course, is pretending to be this character. I don't remember what he's pretending to be. I don't remember his name, but it starts with a B. That's all I remember. And Grant is philosophizing and monologues about bringing down S.H.I.E.L.D. Obviously, that's what he wants to do here, and the thing I love about Lance in this episode is that Lance, of course, doesn't want to do this. Obviously, he doesn't want to bring down S.H.I.E.L.D., but the only way to go after Grant and get that revenge against him is to cover himself up and pretend he's someone else. And Lance fills on Melinda on what intelligence he's gathered, and she believes that he's taking too great a risk at Grant. She thinks this isn't going to end well at all, and he's saying he's bent on revenge, and he says he has to take out Grant before Bobby goes back in the field, and basically Melinda says that she wants to kill Grant too. She wants to kill Grant, and she doesn't think his life is worth Lance's or Bobby's, and Lance agrees. So Melinda wants to take him out, and I feel like that would make more sense because, Melinda's just better at this sort of thing. Plus, she could manipulate him easier, and like I told you guys, I knew Melinda would have a bigger plan than what it seemed like she was going to, and it's not that Lance has a bad plan, he just didn't really think it over very well. That's really what it comes down to. So, Andrew observes Alisha curled up in bed. He knows there's something going on with her, he just can't figure out what it is. She seems that she has a connection to Lash, he knows that, and I like that. I like seeing the connection that she has to Lash, I think it's very interesting. So, Bobby and Daisy report to Coulson, and they determine that Lash is an inhuman, that he is an inhuman, and that he is, but the question is, if he's an inhuman, why the hell is he going after them? And the email they found carried a virus that was used to track their location, and Coulson tells Daisy to report their findings to the ATCU, and Bobby and Daisy question this course of action. Coulson suggests that the same email and virus may be found in some materials that the ATCU has already gathered, so this is probably a good thing for them. So Jemma tells Andrew about how things like the taste of strawberry just aren't the same since she's been back. And, she thinks of the littlest things as, just chaos. It's just crazy. I mean, I like seeing Jemma. I mean, really, Jemma is killing it this season. Whoever plays Jemma really is killing it. She's doing an amazing job, and what I love about these scenes is, again, we're really getting into Jemma's head. We're seeing what she's going through, and he asks her a few more questions, and Jemma says that she knows he's looking for signs of PTSD, but she's fine. She doesn't want to admit that she actually has it, which she clearly does have PTSD, but she just doesn't want to admit it. And Andrew says he's fascinated with survival stories. Jemma says she had given up hope while she was at Alien World, and Andrew asks if she remembers the moment when that happened, but Jemma says she'd rather look forward than back, and she clearly has something planned that she doesn't want anyone to know about, and I don't know what it is, but it's not like Jemma's just going to forget about this. She can clearly tell she has PTSD. I think she's well aware of what's going on with her, but for whatever reason, she doesn't want anyone involved in this. So Andrew tells her she's safe now that it's over. Jemma tells him that he's wrong. And Andrew and Coulson then discuss Jemma. And Coulson's worried, but Andrew says not to rush her. And Andrew's also upset about Alisha being in the field before he even knew about her. Because obviously he didn't know who she was. He didn't know who she was. And you can just tell that Coulson is starting to do things, without his team's consent, and I really feel that's going to be a huge trust issue for Coulson and his team. He's now done it, he's done it for Rosalind, and now he's done it for Alisha. He's done this twice to them. So I really feel this is going to be a huge thing for the team, and honestly, I think Daisy, like I said, would be just as great to run S.H.I.E.L.D., and I feel like that's kind of where we're heading here, because if Coulson keeps doing things against the team, they're going to turn his back. They're going to turn their back on him. Obviously, you know, he's really good with planning, but obviously they want to be involved, and they don't want to be treated like, you know, Coulson is basically treating them like they don't deserve to know this information and that he's the one that did it and that they don't need to know, which they probably do. They should probably know about this information, and I think Coulson really needs to approach this differently, or else it's going to come across in a very bad way, and I know Coulson probably doesn't want that. So basically, Melinda tells Coulson that, and basically this is the first time that Melinda and Coulson have seen each other in a long time, and I like seeing this scene between Melinda and Coulson, and she talks about Lance's plan to get to Grant, and they discuss Lance needs backup. They determine that Lance needs backup even more than what Melinda can provide, so I'm thinking what Coulson's going to do is literally just get his team to go against them, and Coulson tries to get to the bottom of what happened between Melinda and Andrew, and why Melinda hasn't come back, and Melinda says that Andrew leaving her had nothing to do with S.H.I.E.L.D., but with her. So, she lied to Lance. Andrew did, in fact, leave her, and we don't know why, but he did leave her, and, I think that's interesting that she lied to Lance. I don't know why she lied to him, but she did, and, that was interesting. So, Bobby finds that Lash's hair sample is deteriorating. It's getting more and more grotesque, and Fitz doesn't really understand this, and Fitz then picks up a binder, because obviously if you know, Lash is an inhuman, what is his power? What can he do? You know, what's really going on with him? And it contains notes and data that Jemma has been working on, and Jemma walks in and takes it from him angrily, asking what Bobby told Fitz before leaving, and Fitz is confused and asks if Jemma said something to Bobby, and Bobby says he needs to hear from Jemma, and basically I thought that was definitely, you know that Gemma's probably going to tell Fitz what's going on. I didn't think she was going to, but right now, Fitz is the one thing that's keeping her sane. You can just tell. Fitz is what's keeping her sane. It's what's helping her, you know, stay normal, and if it hadn't been for Fitz, she probably would be a nervous wreck right now. So Andrew waits for Melinda, but Melinda's still cold towards him. She wants nothing to do with him, and they both say they had a good time on their trip until Andrew fell off the face of the planet, and Andrew apologized, but Melinda isn't interested in reconciling. She doesn't want to talk about it, and she says he did the same thing to her that she did to him, and now they're even. So she clearly has no interest in trying to make some sort of amends here. She's not interested in all in that. It doesn't seem like something that she cares about, and that's very interesting. Now, this next whole scene and the scenes following it, I did not actually see. So I'm going to be talking about events that I did not watch because of news reports. Just so you guys know, fair warning. Daisy reports back to Coulson that she talked to Banks at the ATCU and was able to find that the virus was sent out to the other inhumans that the ATCU had been tracking, and she traced the virus back to an IT guy named Dwight Fry, who worked at the Social Security Administration, and she questions how the ATCU didn't track him themselves, and wonders if the ACU is using him to track inhumans, which very well could be possible, because why wouldn't they be tracking this guy? Obviously, the ATCU pretty much thinks everyone's an inhuman because most of the population is, and Coulson accuses Daisy of concluding conspiracy theories, but Daisy accuses him of having a thing for Rosalind, which I do agree with. I genuinely think that Coulson and Rosalind do have something going on between them, and Coulson has no reason, you know, Coulson has no right to be talking to Daisy like this because he hasn't discussed things with her, and it definitely is going to be very interesting to see where this goes. I like seeing Daisy kind of rebel against Coulson, especially because Daisy's always kind of been like a daughter towards Coulson. It's really interesting to see, now that she's so powerful and he's just as powerful, to see them, you know, clash like it. It's very interesting. So Daisy, Mac, and Coulson meet Banks and Rosalind in Baltimore to search for Dwight, and Daisy busts in the door, and S.H.I.E.L.D. and the ATCU head inside. Daisy finds a room with a computer setup and the remains of a Terrigenesis cocoon. She finds Dwight cowering in the closet, and he has bruises all over his body. He's freaking out. Daisy knocks him back, and he's having a reaction in Daisy's presence. Daisy leaves, and Clearly, there's something going on with Dwight. What it is, we don't know. But he explains to Coulson and Rosalind that he has something like an allergic reaction, a migraine, whenever he gets close to another inhuman. And this ability allows him to track inhumans, and Dwight tries to run, but Coulson grabs him by the throat with his mechanical hand, and that was just awesome. The things that Coulson can do with that hand is awesome. And Dwight says that Lash gave him the names. He just tracked them down, and they ask how Lash got the names, and Dwight says that it's divine inspiration. Dwight says they should be helping Lash send freaks like him back where they belong, and they decide to take Dwight in, because obviously he knows the whereabouts of Lash, he knows what's going on with Lash, and he probably is a very worthy adversary for them. So Daisy's concerned about their containment facilities, and Coulson sends Mac and Daisy to check out the situation, and Rosalind agrees. She's very reluctant, but she's just like, whatever, let's just do that, let them do that. And Bobby's continuing her rehab training, and Jemma finds her there. Jemma apologizes for snapping at Bobby in the lab. Bobby tells Jemma that she should tell Fitz about wanting to go back through the portal, which, yeah, she probably should tell him. I thought she would by now, and Bobby says she's got a feeling in her gut that Lance is in trouble, and that's something I love about Bobby and Lance. Even though they've had their ups and downs, Bobby can tell when Lance is in trouble. That is true love right there, honestly. Her knowing when he's in trouble without him even being there, that proves that she truly does love him, that she truly does want to be with him, and I really love seeing that. I mean, I know people really do love Lance and Bobby, and that's just shows that they really do love each other, and I love that. As cheesy as it may be, I definitely like that. So Kebo meets Lance, and he and another man check him for weapons. They tell him to get in the trunk because they obviously don't trust him. And it's, Grant's orders. And the ATCU truck drives in what feels to Daisy like circles until Lash burns his way in through the roof. He attacks everyone inside. Daisy uses her power to fend him off, but flips the truck in the process. Lash drags Dwight out. Dwight asks for mercy, but Lash says he's not merciful, he's necessary. And Daisy watches through blurry eyes at Lash's shadow transformation from the hulking beast into a normal human frame. So basically we realize Lash can take any form that he wants, and that's very interesting. That's something that we haven't seen before, and that's how he's an inhuman. So basically, this makes Daisy think that Dwight could possibly be Lash. That maybe Lash could have been Dwight when we saw him before. It's very possible that that could be true, and I think it definitely is very interesting. And he could even be, what's her name? Alisha. He could even be Alisha, for all we know. So Mac wakes up in a hospital bed with a concussion, separated shoulder, and Daisy's sitting over him. Daisy fills him in on what happened and the transformations she saw, and Rosalind walks in on them. She asks about Coulson, but Daisy tells her he's on a mission that doesn't involve inhumans, and for her to stay out of it. Again, you can tell that Daisy just really does not trust Rosalind at all. Not only doesn't she trust her, but she wants absolutely nothing to do with her whatsoever, which I like seeing. So Bobby walks into the hangar as Coulson is gearing up to leave with the tactical team, and Fitz says that they're going after Grant, and realizes that nobody told Bobby this information. And Kebo arrives at the Hydra base. He says the director's trying to come up with a name for the place, like Nemesis or some other S.H.I.E.L.D. sounding name. I think Hydra's fine, honestly. I think Hydra's just fine. I don't see what the problem is with Hydra. But whatever. They seem to be playing a raid. Grant walks out, and Lance reveals himself. He says, look, I'm not this person, and I was surprised that Lance did that so early, but this is not going to be something good for Lance. Lance takes cover. Grant has his men circled in on him. They're about to fire when Melinda shows up, takes them down, and Grant signals to Kebo. He makes a call. Coulson is still 20 minutes out. He tells him to retreat, but Melinda says she doesn't think they can. Grant pulls up something on his phone. He tosses the phone into Melinda's eyesight, and is playing a live feed of Andrew. And Grant says that he has men on site to kill Andrew on command. And Werner von Strucker and another Hydra man come into view. A third Hydra man walks in the convenience store with Andrew. So basically, this scene was incredible. They lock the door. Hunter apologizes, opens fire on Grant. May tells Coulson, and basically Melinda tells Coulson to get to Andrew because she knows that they're probably going to kill Andrew here. And Kebo breaks open a window, jumps through. Grant follows, but Lance shoots him out of the way out. And Kebo and Grant speed away in a truck. And Melinda looks at Lance furious, and that was insane that we saw that. Definitely, that was really crazy there. And basically, Melinda's ringing Andrew's phone, but it's on the floor in the store beside a body in a pool of blood and a pool of gasoline. And basically, Warner runs out of the building as it explodes behind him, and that's basically what happens there. That was insane what happened there, definitely. Andrew is probably dead. I'm assuming Andrew is dead, which is sad, but I'm pretty sure that either Andrew's dead or he's hurt really badly. And that just shows now that Hydra is still just as powerful, and I think it showed Coulson that, and that definitely was really crazy. I didn't expect that to be as crazy as it was, but that was insane, and I loved it. I really did. And then basically the end of this episode was very interesting. It really sets things up for next week. Jemma's working on her project in her room. There's a knock. She hides her papers under the covers. She opens the door, and of course it's Fitz. He comes in with a coffee or tea in hand. Fitz asks why Jemma wants to reopen the portal, and he was able to figure out what she was doing based on what he saw in her work, but he just can't understand why she wants to do it. And I like how, again, he's able to tell without her telling him, and she says she has to go back there, and she needs his help to do it. That's why she didn't want to tell him, and she says something happened to her on the other side, and it's time she told him the truth about everything, and that's how the episode ends. So, clearly, Jemma has had something happen to her. There is something going on, and I knew we were not going to end the monolith plot. When Fitz rescued Jemma, I knew that wasn't the end of it. I knew there was more to it, and obviously there's something more going on there. What it is, we don't know, but that's going to be very interesting. I like seeing Jemma, though, tell Fitz what's going on and realize that she needs his help. It's very interesting to see them take a complete 180, pretty much. Last season, they were at the point where they didn't want to talk to each other at all, and now they're at the point where I honestly feel they're going to start dating, honestly. I feel like that's where we are at this point. Is Andrew dead? I'm not sure. I don't know if Andrew is dead, but definitely there's going to be some huge bloodshed, and there's going to be a huge war now between Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. Why do they want to change their name? I don't know, but, Melinda's back working with Coulson, which of course is always awesome to see. I love seeing Melinda back into that position. It's always great to see her there. It's just awesome. I love seeing that stuff. That was definitely really cool. What is Lance going to do now, though? Because obviously Lance needs to have a bigger plan than this. We don't know what it is, but that's going to be interesting. Daisy and Coulson definitely have a lot going on between them. Obviously, she doesn't really trust Coulson very much. She doesn't like Rosalind very much. Do you think this is going to work? This partnership seems to be working right now, but now that the whole Hydra thing's going on, I really feel that Hydra's going to try to fracture this, and honestly, I feel like knowing Grant, he's going to try to recruit Rosalind to Hydra, and that could be very interesting to see if he does do that. I'll have to see what's going on there, but that definitely, I'm interested in seeing what they do, with that. But Rosalind's character, I think, is definitely getting very interesting, I have to say. Now, Lash. Obviously, we know that Lash can take a form of any human being that there is, so could he have possibly been Alisha? I think Alisha, honestly, could have been Lash. We know that Alisha saw Lash, but you never know. When Lash could have killed Alisha, and when Alisha appeared, it could have very much been Lash. I'm not really sure. But I think it's very interesting that Lash can take any form, and maybe they could use this to Hydra's advantage, have Lash pretend to be someone that he's not. I could see them doing that. But knowing Lash and knowing how maniacal and powerful he is, I don't see them being able to even use Lash as an adversary, even though they probably want to. I don't think they're going to be able to, unfortunately. I wish I could say they are, but it doesn't seem like that's where this is going, which I wish it was, but it's not. Bobby, I don't understand why Jemma didn't tell Bobby the truth. She didn't want anyone to know, obviously, what was going on. So we'll have to see what's going on with Bobby. I mean, definitely, Bobby doesn't know that Fitz was involved in this whole thing and that there's something more going on here. She doesn't know about any of this. She just knows that Jemma wanted to go back and she didn't tell her why, which I think is interesting that we did that. Dwight. What is going to happen with Dwight here? Obviously, he has a connection to Lash, and we'll have to see what happens between Dwight and Lash. There's clearly something more going on there, and we'll have to see what that is. That's going to be very interesting, I think, to see what's going on between Dwight and Lash. I'm interested in that. I like seeing Daisy, again, like I said, I like the stuff with Daisy, definitely, but Daisy, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with her and the Inhumans, obviously. It seems like Coulson is interested, but Daisy is the one that's training them, so we'll have to see what's going on with that. That's gonna be interesting, definitely. Now, Melinda and Andrew, did they actually split up? Because she told Lance they didn't, but then she tells Coulson they did. So who is she lying to and who is she not? I mean, I don't think Melinda would ever lie to Coulson, so clearly she's lying to Lance, and I don't know why. Why did she lie to Lance like that? I don't know. Why does she not fully trust him? Because to me, that makes me think that she does not really trust Lance right now, and I don't know why, because Lance has been there for her so much. There's no reason not to trust him, and I don't see why she doesn't think that, it's someone she should trust. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but for whatever reason, Melinda doesn't want to trust Lance right now, and I don't really know why, but that's what's going on with that. But overall, guys, great episode. Obviously, really, really did love it. Next week's episode looks like it's only going to focus on Jemma and Fitz, which could be very interesting if it does. Very interesting where that's going to go. But let me you guys saw this episode. This was an amazing episode. Besides all the damn interruptions, I wish I could have talked more about this episode. But again, interruptions, I wasn't able to fully pay attention to the episode because there were about 3 interruptions during this entire episode. It was really annoying. But I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Scream Queens. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.